Hey guys, welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and we've got a new shop edition, which is I guess it's called a lettering press. It's made by Perma products, and there's another brand that escapes me right now, but the brands are compatible as far as the wheels, the lettering wheel, and there's another unit inside called an escapement wheel, which does your step over. Now with this works a lot like a typewriter. Every time you bring your tool down onto the platen and mark a letter, it does a step over for you based on the size of your letters. The escapement wheel will give you different step overs for your letter size. So it's a pretty neat. I mean, you can create spaces or you can do a complete release of the table. And it's a pretty heavy duty unit. You know, it's got a cast iron base and this arm is all cast iron, so it's pretty heavy. It can be operated. I'm sitting right now, so it can be operated with the knob down, as you see here, or we can flip and you could stand and press kind of backwards. Now this thing was gummy and didn't even function when I got it. I'm going to show you the mechanism inside here in a little while. And it was just really, really gummed up with old oil, and it looked like a heavy gear oil that was in there. And I, cleaned it out. The slide, I put it together with whey oil, and everything else I used a light oil on it. So pretty pleased. They do give you some cautions. First of all is don't just press this button and release the table and let it slam into the stop over on the left. The stop is just a tiny little set screw, and I'm going to pull it out right now. And this little base right here is, it looks like an investment casting. What you got is a little tiny screw there, and that the table actually slides into that and slams into it. So you could break the casting just by sitting there and pressing that button. Now that's what releases the table and lets it come all the way out. Now, and here's the base of it. This bar right here is a precision ground steel bar, and that is where all the stamping actually takes place, right across here. So wherever, it doesn't really matter where your part is, this is where the stamp comes in and makes the lettering. So it's got a good strong back. This platen doesn't really do much of anything. This is steel. It's like a chrome plated steel, but this piece here is where where the bullet hits the bone. Now I did have a little bit of damage. Well, you can see there's one tooth missing on this step over wheel with the spring, with the clock spring on it. It hasn't affected the operation yet, so it's been okay. I'm going to bring you in a little closer and let you zoom in, or let me zoom in on that base. Let's see if we can get you a little. Okay, ready? Boom. Okay, that's pretty good. Using my optical zoom, not a digital zoom. Here's the tooth that was missing here, but so far it hasn't affected the operation. It's been okay. And this right here is the escapement wheel. And this is what I'm pressing that button right now for a step over. But this gear and that pawl down there is what creates the proper step over based on your letter size. And your lettering wheel is clearly marked. Must be clearly marked on the other side because it's not clearly marked on this side. They are marked what size the lettering wheel is. This one is 1/8 of an inch, and your escapement wheel is marked 1/8 of an inch. Now let's put it all back together. I'm going to zoom you back out. And plug you in right there. And I'm going to put this table back in. Now I've got these two slides coated with whey oil. That's where they move in and out on this little saddle, if you will. It's like a little milling machine. And there are no ways in it. There's really no way to control the table movement, or I mean, without doing a bunch of machine, there's a little bit of movement there, but not a gob. So I didn't see any kind of dovetails or anything in there. Now we're going to put our hard stop back in. And there are some other accessories for this that I don't have. First of all is a square. They've got a little groove down each side of the plate in here, and they've got a kind of a square that moves up and down in that groove with some thumb screws. Now I don't have that, and I think it's still available from Perma, but I've got some stuff here I might try. What I've got is some, these are some drafting scales that go on an old type drafting machine. This is, this looks like an architectural scale here. And here's another one. This looks like a mechanical scale. And I'm just going to take these here and cut them down and get some little kind of thumb screws here. And make a little horseshoe on each side, and have myself a little adjustable place to square my parts up with. Because I didn't have anything, so I thought maybe I'd create that out of these. These are kind of a knife edge scale. A little focus on that. There you go. You can kind of see what's going on with that. So I was going to make myself one of those for this. And, you know, the scale doesn't really refer to anything. It would just be a point of reference. From here all the way over to here, it's showing 9.8. I doubt if that's 9.8 inches, but this is 1/50th scale, mechanical scale. All right, so I'm going to make me a little straight edge that can go in either there or there. You can put it top or bottom, but let me get that done, and then we'll bring you back and see how this thing works. Okay, so we're back from the milling machine. We went along, and actually, if something's worth doing, it's worth overdoing, right? So I made some little C-clamps here with some thumb knobs, and I made a centering scale, and I'll bring you in a little closer and show you what a centering scale is. Let me zoom in there. And I'm going to park you right about here. And a centering scale starts off with 0 in the center, and then it's half increments. You know, this is an inch scale, so it goes 1 and 1, and 2 and 2, and 3 and 3. So, but you only space your lines out, and your scribe lines, you only space those out in half increments. So you bring your part in here as so. And you check right over here, you check left over here, make sure you're on the same numbers, adjust accordingly. And that's a centering scale. So these are 5.5 inch placards. So we can see right there we got 5.5, and see right there we got 5.5. So that's what a centering scale is. Now this little fence setup I made is not self-squaring. I actually have to put a square on the side of the platen and square it up manually every single time, but it's actually no big deal to do. All right, so let's, and the rest of this, it doesn't use any fancy clamps or anything. I'm just going to use tape. I just put tape on the edges just to keep the part from slipping, and then we stamp our numbers. So let me tape it in, and we'll make some marks. Okay, next up on our list, we've got Mr. Ross Snyder, serial number 190077. So we're gonna, we've got our plate down, we're centered, and we got it taped down so it can't slip side to side. So let's go ahead and start with the 1 and move to a 9, dash, 0, 0, 7, what was it, 7, 7? 7, 7. And an S. This oven is a special. It's got the ramp soap controller. And this one is done. Let me move that over. Let you take a peek at it. So that's what it looks like. It's still got the clear film on it there. I've got my little list here. And the next person is 19-0079S. That's my next serial number. And that belongs to the one and only, this old Tony. So we're already set up on 1 on top, so we're going to come down on 1, stamp, and go to 9, And what was that again? 79? 7? 9? And this oven is a special, so it gets a S behind the serial number. Okay, so that's the end of it. Nice and straight, you know, no more hand stamped numbers. I mean, I hand stamp my scale down here. You can see the 4 is a little off center, the 3 is off center, the 2 is low, the 1. When you're hand stamp, you're all over the place. But this little lettering press is pretty awesome for doing, you know, serial numbers. So, you know, I got my fence set right now. I'm going through doing a bunch of number plates right now. Well, my camera's freaking out. Look at that thing go. Here, let's just confuse the hell out of it. There we go. All right, so that's the Perma lettering press. Pretty cool unit. Special thanks to Tom Utley for turning me onto these and helping me with keywords over on eBay. Okay, I'm getting ready to break this down and go to another row. So I thought I'd show you what these little clamps are all about, these little thumb screws and everything. I did make them so that they're kind of captured. Actually, see right now this can't come off. And all you did with that is you unscrew this a little bit farther. And you can see what I did there. I put a little pocket in there for the screw to go down in. So when that, you know, that thumb screw goes down, it gets captured in that little 1/4 inch pocket. And if you leave it loose, it can't come out. So you're free to slide it around and you don't have to worry about them falling off. All right, so that's all I did to make that work. The centering scale is pretty simple. And actually, now that I've run a few of these plates with this thing, it's great. I wish it was self-squaring, but unfortunately it's not self-squaring. It's no big deal to just throw a square down on the table and make sure you're squared up each time. But so far, I'm pretty happy with this modification. Now, I'll remind you that all that is one of these scales. I got this from a drafting supply place, from the old hand drawing. I think I called it a drafting machine, that where you change the scales on your drafting machines. So these are nice hard anodized scales. And they mill pretty easy after you break through the anodizing, you know. And then I've got my graduations that I actually milled in there. The others were silk screened. So I actually just took a little D-bit and engraved some 1/4 inch, or actually 1/8 inch resolution in there. All right. Okay, guys. Well, that's the Perma. This is a Perma. What is it? A number 4. A Perma number 4 stamping press. Very pleased with it, and I can really get my lettering plates done quickly. You know, it's just it's a godsend. And this is with the first batch that's using the new stamping press. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.